Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com. We are live right now, and today we are going to be talking about email tips, tricks, and advice. Honest advice, even better. So we're going to be talking a lot about different features you can do with your email. One of the things I did ask our class yesterday when we taught this live was, generally speaking, what types of email they were using and what program they were using. To those of you who are here right now, I'd appreciate if you do the same thing. Just tell us what kind of account you're using, so Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, etc., and also what program you are using to manage your email, whether it's the web or a program like Apple Mail, Outlook, or Thunderbird. Now, most of what I'm going to be showing you today is going to be using Apple Mail. If we have an overwhelming amount of people who use either the web or Apple Mail, we'll just stick to that. But basically, everything I'm going to show you today does apply, for the most part, to every email service out there. So I'm getting in responses from all of you who are here live. The vast majority of you have said Gmail. That's a great news. So let's start off with going over some very basic terminology. You need to know that there are two different types of email technology out there. One is referred to as IMAP, I-M-A-P, and the other is referred to as POP, P-O-P, also known as POP3. And here's the basic difference between the two. So with POP, and examples of POP include Outlook, Outlook.com that is, Hotmail, and Yahoo. Also, if you use if you have a cable provider, whether it's Comcast, Time Warner, or one of the other million internet providers out there, most of them use POP as well. The way they work is, let's say I send you an email and you are using one of those services. I am not actually emailing you. I am actually emailing them, and they beam a copy to you. Now, this is all fine and dandy if the only way that you check your email is through the web and if you only use one device. It can get to be a bit of a problem if you use multiple devices. The reason being, if you're like me and you get now 300 emails a day, it means you have 300 emails a day to delete on your computer, your iPhone, and your iPad, which is why I don't recommend it. And don't worry, over the course of this class, I am going to give you a few tips for if you decide to switch, a couple just easy tricks to make that transition a bit easier. The other option is IMAP. Examples of IMAP are Gmail, iCloud, and if you use your own internet service, such as a domain name. Now, not all of them give you access to it. It's one of the main reasons why I discourage people from using a very popular service called GoDaddy. I do not recommend GoDaddy. That is only one of the many reasons why I don't like them. If you are looking to have your own domain name, so let's say you want davidacox.com, please don't. Someone else already has it. Not me, sadly. The one I do recommend more than any is a service called Bluehost. They are based 100% out of the United States. They keep all of their support in the United States. Their support is awesome, and they're just really, really easy to deal with and very reliable. I've only had my email go down, I think, twice in the past 3 or 4 years. So they've always been very, very good. A lot of people ask me, who do I overall recommend? For the most part, Gmail. There is an exception to the rule, though. If you do not own any Apple devices yet and are planning on buying one and have never created an Apple ID, in that case, I do recommend iCloud. The reason why I don't recommend using iCloud specifically for email, everything else about it's great, but specifically for email, the reason why I don't, and this can get confusing, an iCloud.com email address is its own Apple ID. And here's a perfect example of where this can be a problem. Look no further than me. I started downloading music through iTunes in college. And back then I had a Gmail account that I almost never use except for when telemarketers are pestering me and I give them my old email address that I don't use because God knows I never check it. And anything that I purchased during that time frame is now locked, basically. So if I wanted to switch everything from my Gmail account with an Apple ID over to an iCloud account, I'd have to buy everything again. So that's the major reason why I do recommend Gmail for the most part. For full disclosure, the one thing I don't like about Gmail, actually two things. One is that they change the look of their website on a way too frequent basis. And the second part is that if you do check Gmail on the web, they do analyze keywords in your email to create relevant ads that you see. So if you get an email about let's go surfing, you may start to see ads on the right-hand side that advertise surf gear, etc. So it's not like it's a human actually do it, it's just a computer. That's a little bit of a pain, but for a free service, I think it's still pretty acceptable. So that's the biggest part I wanted to go over as far as advice about who to go to. One other little tip. To anyone out there, and I can see that a bunch of you who are here do use it, a big word of caution to those of you who use Yahoo. And here's the reason. Those of you who have gotten to know me through these classes before may have heard this one before, but last year, I had a period over 3 weeks where 50 of my clients, businesses, individuals, a couple celebrities, a couple government officials, all had their identities stolen. The only thing all of them had in common was they all used Yahoo. I have a very, very strong suspicion that Yahoo was hacked and they never told the public. They never went to the media with it. And instead, they just denied it the whole way through and kept their mouths shut. And so what happened was anyone who didn't change their password may have noticed they got emails from friends saying, "Why are you sending out emails?" It's basically a spam bot that's posing as you emailing the rest of the world. So be aware of that. So now what I'm going to do is start to go over various options here, looking at the responses I got in from people. A lot of you were very consistent with the class that we did yesterday. A lot of you are using the mail program that comes with the Mac. Couple, only a few said Outlook. A tip I want to give if you do use Outlook, if you use Outlook and you have an Apple device such as an iPhone or an iPad, watch out. I have some contacts who are very high over at Apple, and they're high on the scale at Apple. They're not literally high, and although that is questionable. And sorry, I got off topic there. And so I asked them, how do you guys explain to people about why Outlook doesn't play well with Apple devices, and very specifically iCloud? And the example they gave me, the metaphor that they brought up, was that it's like wanting to be able to eat 10 pounds of chocolate a day and not gain any weight. It just doesn't work that way. Outlook tends to be a very closed system, and you can find that it will work somewhat with iCloud. For example, you could put something into your calendar on your computer and find that it syncs to your phone, but if you do it the other way around, it doesn't work. So it's not a real two-way street. Instead, what I do strongly recommend, it's free. If you're on Windows, I strongly recommend checking out Thunderbird because it works a lot better. So just check that one out. And there is a class on Thunderbird in the video library. So I'm going to go over a bunch of different things here that many of you have emailed to me over the past couple days, and just try to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. Charles, you just asked, is Yahoo the same as att.net? The basic answer is yes, without going too far into it. So let's go through a bunch of questions. This right here you see is a dummy account, and you'll see the email address is playswellwithsharks@gmail.com. For those of you who don't get that reference, here in the United States we have a television show called Shark Tank. For those of you who are international right now, a lot of you have a show called Dragon's Den. It's the same show, but here in the United States. I was on the show for PC Classes Online, and they passed on it. Thank God. If you knew what I know, you'd know how far that rabbit hole goes, how deep that rabbit hole goes. So don't send any email to this account because I guarantee you I will not receive it unless I'm teaching a class on email. Don't even think about it. So let's get started here. The first thing I want to go over, common question that we get in, is from people who want to know, how do I adjust the size of the font? A lot of people, especially if you have bad vision or if you're older, may have trouble seeing it the way it comes out of the box. So let's go over how to change that. As with pretty much every program on the Mac, up here you have where it says Mail. You can go down here to Preferences, And this is where you're going to find a lot of the different settings that you can use to change the way it looks. And here under fonts and colors is where you're going to find that. Now, if you're following along and you use a different program, this is very similar. It's not in the same location, but it's usually called preferences or options. But all the features are basically the same. So here you can see we have three different things. We have message list font, the message font, and fixed width font. You'll almost never run into this one here at the bottom. But as far as message list font, that's the one that you see over here on the left-hand side. That's the actual message itself. So if you want to make it larger, just click right here where it says select. You can choose what font you want and the size of the font you want, and it will stay that way. Then, if you want to change the actual size of the message, let me move this over so you can see it actually take place. You notice that this font right here resembles this. That's because that is that. Hit select, and you can change it to whatever you want. So let's say I want to go back to Arial. It automatically changes it, and I can make it as big or as small as I want. Okay, that's the first thing I want to go over. Next one, and we're not really going in any particular order today, is I want to talk about rules, because rules can be a really easy way to control your email, especially if you're like me and you get 300 a day. So essentially what a rule is you're telling your computer, if the email that comes in meets this condition, do this. So let's say you have a problem with getting in a lot of junk mail, and you just want it to go straight into trash, which I'm going to give you a few tricks about junk mail in a little bit. So one of the tips I give people about junk mail, which we'll cover more in a bit, is about the importance of unsubscribing instead of just hitting the delete key. The only exception to the rule is if you get in spam messages that have to do with Viagra or making your junk bigger or faster or longer or whatever, insert your own adjective here, there's a rule that you probably should not a rule. You should try not to hit unsubscribe on those, because many of those emails are basically just trying to find out if you're opening them. And so even though it says click here to unsubscribe, you're probably going to get a lot more email from them if you actually click that button. So the easy way to get around it is to create a custom rule. So watch this. Still here in preferences, I'm going to just center this. Go here over to the right-hand side where it says rules, and you're going to click add rule. So we can call this whatever we want. Let's just use the example I did here. So let's call it Viagra. Unfortunately, a lot of these companies are getting smarter, and what they're doing is they're purposefully misspelling it so that they might reverse the R and the A as an example. So we're going to tell the computer that if any of these conditions are met, it can do this. So you can have these rules be whatever you want. You can say, maybe if it's from a family member, you want it to go into a special email inbox for you. Maybe you want, if it's someone who's not in your contacts, you want to move the email into a different location. You can really play with this however you want. There's a million ways to customize this. So for this case, let's do if the subject contains, and you could just put in as many words as you want. You can put in the first word, comma, second word. Okay? Then automatically perform the following actions, and we're going to move the message into the trash. Okay? You can customize this however many you want. You can do as many rules as you want. A lot of CEOs will do a thing where if it has an attachment, it'll go into a special inbox. If it has the word receipt in the subject line, it goes into a special folder called receipts. Same thing for invoices. So you can play with that to your heart's content. Next one is creating those mailboxes. I want to show you how to do that. So a mailbox is essentially just a folder, and you can have that folder live either on your computer, or if you're using something like Gmail as an example, you can store it on the server. For those of you who don't know what that actually means, what it means is if I take a folder, let's just use my example. I'm going to delete this because I'm going to recreate it. Let's say you want to create a folder for receipts. If I create it and put it on Gmail's server, What it means is that, let's say I go on my iPhone and I go to check, or Droid, or whatever you may have. I can still get access to that same data. Whereas if it's on my computer, I won't be able to. The other reason why it's a good idea to keep these things on a server is because, God forbid, if something happens to your computer, if it's on your computer and nowhere else, it's going to be deleted. So the way you do it is, if you look here at the very bottom left, there's a little plus symbol. Just click that and click here where it says New Mailbox. And don't worry, we'll go over Smart Mailbox in a little bit. When you do this, it's going to say, well, where would you like it to be stored? So for those of you who are on an Apple computer, you can choose to store it on My Mac or Gmail. So we're going to call it, sorry, I'm typing with one hand, and click OK. And over here in just a second, there you go, receipts. One question I received in from one of you was, how do you reorder them? Unfortunately, for some strange reason, there's no way to just tell it to automatically go in alphabetical order. Or if there is, I'm not aware of a way to do that. So what you can do is just drag and drop these to whatever position you want, and they'll stay there. Unfortunately, it won't do the same on your other devices. You'd have to do that for each device. Iris asked a question, what is the difference between trash and junk? That's a great question. Basically, the answer is junk is really just a folder. It's that out of sight, out of mind concept, but it's still taking up space, and that's why it's really important to unsubscribe. And don't worry, I'll get to that in a little bit. Next thing we're going to talk about is smart mailboxes. Now, essentially what a smart mailbox is it's just a custom search feature. And I'll give you the example that most people use. A lot of people want to see, first and foremost, what email has come in today. So the way you would do that is you'd go down here to the bottom, and right next to New Mailbox, you'll see New Smart Mailbox. And when I click on that, just like you can with rules, you can tell it, under these conditions, I want to see it here. So let's do today. Okay, you know what? Let's do this month, just because I know what's going to happen when it actually does this. So it's going to be from any recipient, change that. Date received is, let's see, let's actually do, is this week, should we do? Let's do that, this week. Okay, that'll be easier. If you want, you can include messages from trash. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but hit OK. And so now over here, you'll see, oh, there's the eBlast I sent out last night. So it's just a search function, okay? The difference between a smart mailbox and a mailbox is that with the mailbox, you're actually moving the message. All the smart mailbox does is it's like you've searched on the computer for just email that came in this week in this case. Okay, I see a couple other questions coming in, which we're going to go over in a little bit. And don't worry, I always try to leave extra time at the end. So if you hang out, if I haven't answered your question, I'll do my absolute best. I do have a client coming in about an hour from now, so we're good for this moment. Okay, we went over smart mailboxes. Next one I want to go over, this is a common question that I get in from people, is occasionally you need to change the password on your email, whether it's because you got hacked or it is a good idea to do it now and then. And when people do that, a lot of times they find that they have problems using their mail program. So what I want to do is go back to preferences here and show you something. When you change the password to your email, you have to do that through whatever service you're using, their website. So for example, if we're doing Gmail, I'd have to go to gmail.com and change the password there. Once I do that, my program, no matter what I use, whether it's Thunderbird, Outlook, or Apple Mail, is not going to be able to receive or send email. What a lot of people will do, which is only half right, is they will go here into Preferences, go under Accounts, and change the password here. Here's the problem. You have to do more than just that. Because when you send an email, when you're using email, you actually have two passwords. One is used automatically for receiving email, and the other is used every time you send an email. And that's usually where a lot of people have problems. They realize they can't send email. The place you go for it is you want to look for something called Outgoing Mail Server, SMTP. You're going to click right here, go to Edit, make sure you're on the Advanced tab, and type it in right here. Okay? Once you do that, it's got to be the same password as you have in incoming. You're good to go. I don't use this email account, so I'm not really concerned about setting it up correctly. The next one I want to go over. Oh, common question that we get in from people who do use the Apple Mail program is a couple operating systems ago, Apple changed the way the mail application looks, and some people like the old way. There's a very easy way to get it back. All you have to do, go right back to where we were, Preferences, Viewing, and it's right here hidden at the top. It says Use Classic Layout. Once you check that, there is your old way that it used to be that you would view email. Another common question we get from people is one day they go to use their email and they notice it looks like this. And they say, well, wait, where'd the actual message go? It might be hard for some of you to see. I actually have a client of mine who calls me on a weekly basis, God bless her, and she is 96 years old, and she constantly accidentally makes this mistake. If you can see here at the very, very bottom of my screen, there's a teeny, not of my screen, of the window, there's a teeny bar, and there's a little dot right there in the middle. If you click that and drag it up, you get back your preview. So you can make this as large or as small as you want. That's just another common question that we do get in. Next, we're going to talk about junk mail because it's become a problem for a lot of people. By the way, if you use Yahoo or AOL, you may notice that you get a lot of junk mail. That's no mistake. They sell your email like nothing else. So if you use one of those services, again, I very strongly do recommend leaving them and switching to a service like Gmail, iCloud, or using your own domain name. So the way you unsubscribe from any of these things, let's go to, I'm going to use Apple here as the example. By federal law, at least here in the United States, every single email that you get from a mailing list has to give you a way to unsubscribe. It's hidden usually at the very, very bottom. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it here. It can be very, very tricky to find. If you look right down here, it says if you prefer not to receive any commercial email, click here. Sometimes it'll say unsubscribe, but again, just be very careful not to do that if the email is from either a pornographic company or trying to sell Viagra, something like that, because those companies typically use tricks so that they're just going to send you more and more. Okay. By the way, if you're curious about how to zoom in on an email, maybe it's just a particular message and you don't know how to just make it larger, the universal way to zoom in and zoom out on a Mac, it's you hold the Command key and tap the plus symbol to make it larger. You tap the, you do the same thing with the minus key to make it zoom out so it's smaller. If you're on a PC, it's the exact same, except instead of you don't have Command, use the Control key. It's the same feature. We went over that. If you want to set up a junk mail filter, here's how this works. And again, works basically the same way on every different service out there. You're going to go here to where it says Mail and go into Preferences. Here you'll find junk mail is one of the options here. And there's a few different things you can do here. I do recommend enabling junk mail filtering. One of the biggest problems we tend to have with people who are brand new and sign up for our service, it's just because of the way things are. A lot of times our first communications to people tend to go into their junk mail. So I always tell them, make sure you do look there for our message and mark it so that it's not listed as junk mail for the future. So you can tell it when junk mail arrives, do you want it to just mark it as junk, in which case when you see items that are listed typically in orange, that's usually the color they use to identify that the computer thinks it's junk mail. Or you can have it move it into a special junk mailbox. The only problem with that is it tends to encourage people to become lazy, because it really is important to unsubscribe rather than just simply deleting the message or letting it go there. Now, the other part is, what do you want to do after that? Well, that is actually located back here under Accounts. And when you're in Accounts, you're going to go to Mailbox Behavior. So now you got to tell the computer, now that it's identified this message as junk and it moved it into a special folder called junk, what do you want it to do? And what you can do is tell it to automatically delete the junk messages, either never, after they're 1 day old, 1 week old, 1 month old, or every single time you quit. Personally, I recommend doing this option right here. I recommend doing it when it's 1 month old. That way you have time to go through periodically, check your junk mail. If it is marked as junk, what you need to look out for is this right here at the top, and you want to click Not Junk. Now, just simply clicking Not Junk does not move that message back into your inbox. You have to do that on your own. What it means is that future emails from that contact will not go into your junk mail. So if you want to move it from junk back into inbox, you're going to click it, drag it, and drop it back. And you'll see there it is. Okay? Don't worry, I see all of your questions that are coming in. We're going to hit all of them mostly at the end. Next, I want to give you a really nifty feature. And for those of you in business more than anything, this thing is a lifesaver. Also, it can be used if you have kids who live in your house and you want to torture them. It's a great prank to pull. So, this can be done on a Mac or a PC. However, it can only be done natively on a Mac. To do it on a PC, you need a special piece of software, which I'll go over in a little bit. So one of the things that happens to me is that I get so many emails from people, and so many times it's the same question over and over again. That's part of the reason why we just opened the online store, because so many people were asking, what hard drive do you recommend? What printer do you recommend? Literally over 100 requests a day. So what I did for a period before I just opened the store was created a way that I could type a couple keystrokes and have it send them a generic message that says, please go here or check out this product here. You can do this however you want. You could have it, let's say, well, I'm just going to show you. How's that? You're going to actually leave the mail program for this one. You're going to go into the Apple icon at the top left and System Preferences. Now you're going to go into Keyboard. And finally in Keyboard, there's a tab here called Text. If you didn't follow it, don't worry. This is going to be published online, so you'll be able to go back to it later. And so what you have here is a way to program your computer so that if you type these letters, it's going to replace it with this message. And it can be as long as you want. It can be 3 paragraphs long. If you do so, please write it out in an actual document. Don't just type it in here. So let's say you want to, let's say you're a store and you commonly get the question, what are your hours of operation, as a stupid example. So what I could do is hit the little plus symbol down here at the bottom left and create a custom code. You want it to be something you wouldn't normally type. And usually that'll mean making it more than one word and putting it together. So what I'll do is I'll call it store hours without using a space. And so now over here, every time I type this in, it can replace it with something else. So let's just dictate real quick. It's got to just refresh itself. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m., period. On weekends, we are open from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m., period. Great. So now that I have that set, I don't have to do anything else. Now, I can go into my email. Let's say I get a email from someone and I have to tell them what the store hours are. All I do is type in STOREHOURS, and when I hit the space bar, it replaces it. Just a nifty little trick. Again, you can use this 100 different ways. The only part that's a little bit tough is you have to remember what that code is that you used. Now, the way to do that on a PC, if you want to jot this down, for those of you who might be interested, there is a service it's a software, rather, that you have to buy. It's called ShortKeys, KEYS.com. It's $25. I did look into this, and it does not appear there is a way to do it natively in Windows, at least not Windows 7. I don't believe there's a way to do it in Windows 8 either, but I'm not 100% positive. Next thing I want to do is go over something that some people know. Some of you here may know it, but others of you may not know it. And if you're about to go through a process of sorting email, this thing is a lifesaver. So I want to cover how to select multiple emails and do one particular action. The most common one people are going to be using with this is deleting. So if you get in a ton of messages and you want to delete them faster than one at a time, here's how you do it. I'm going to show you how to do it on a Mac and a PC. On a Mac, and this is universal, this does not just apply to email, this applies to iPhoto, contacts, the web, everything. If I want to select individual, so they're not in a list, emails, I just hold the command key on my keyboard, hold the command key, and every time I click, you'll notice that it's adding messages all together. Now when I hit the delete key, all of those are gone. The second way to select multiple items is a list. So I want to tell the computer to do something to everything from here through here. The way you do that is click on the first one, hold the Shift key, and click on the last one. And you'll see that everything that is listed in between is highlighted. Now I can hit delete and clear those out. The final way, well, there's actually two ways. The final way, for the most part, is when you want to do something to everything. So maybe I'm in a mailbox, okay, and I want to just clear everything out. The fast way to do it is hold the command key and tap the letter A. That is the universal command for select all. Now, everything I have just told you is the exact same on a PC. The only difference is instead of using the command key, it's the control key. So for individual selection, you'd hold control and click on individual messages. Select all on a PC, control A. Now the sort of final way is, let's say I've selected all these messages, but I actually want to keep this one. If you hold the command key after it's already been selected and click on it again, it will deselect. So basically, to do this, you either are going to be individually selecting or deselecting messages. I know a lot of you here probably knew that, but for those who don't, it is really important to know that because it makes using a computer so much easier. Next, this is a big one. For those of you, we're going to start to talk about what to do if you decide to change email addresses, because it can be a pain. So I'm going to give you a few tricks that I use in working with clients to help them move from one service to the other. The first thing that you need to do is have a really solid address book. So the way you do that here is there's two different tricks that you can use actually. So the first is when I get in an email, you see how if I put my cursor over the email address or the name, there's a teeny tiny little triangle over here on the right hand side. It's very similar in all the other programs. When I click on that triangle, let's use this one as the example. One of the options is add to contacts. So with one click, I can take that person's email and add it into my computer. Now, a lot of you may have found that when you start typing email messages, the person's name pops up. That does not mean that they are in your address book. What that means is that your computer uses a feature called previous recipients. It's people that you've corresponded with at some point in time, and it holds onto their email address in its memory, but it never actually truly saves it. This is also really important if down the road you get something like an iPhone, because once that person's contact information is in your computer, it's now going to sync to your other devices. So here's the way you can access that giant list of people you've corresponded with at some point in the past. From here, up here, you're going to go to where it says Window, and right down here it says previous recipients. Again, this is a dummy account, so you're not going to find a lot of addresses listed here. You'll notice that this first one here has a little card icon next to it. That means that that contact is in my address book, whereas the one below it does not. And so just by clicking on it and clicking Add to Contacts, I will take that person's information and it will go straight into my address book. It's really important to do this before you switch email services because, of course, you want to tell your friends that you're moving and then also have your old messages forward to your new account. So now I want to start to go over that. Now, right now we have a very international crowd here, so I'm going to speak from the standpoint of the United States. It is very similar internationally, it's just the numbers are slightly different. If I were to try to send an email just through this program to 100 people, it will not send. The reason why is your cable provider, your internet provider, blocks that feature from working. The reason is that if you have a virus on your computer, usually the first thing it's going to try to do is it's going to try to send itself out to everyone who's listed in your address book. So by you sending out a ton of emails to a large group of people, it thinks that you're a virus. So what it does is it shuts down that email connection and doesn't let you send. There are ways around it, that being said. Let's say you're going to Gmail, as an example. You want to send that e-blast from Gmail. If you go to the web and go to gmail.com instead of using the email program to send that email message, you will bypass your internet provider. So that's a little trick for you to use. Otherwise, if you're going to send it out to your contacts, try to do it 50 to 75 people at a time. Depending on where you live and who your internet provider is, the number can change. I've never heard of any email service allowing for more than, I think 150 is the most I've ever heard of. So you want to do it in small groups, and here's another trick when you go to do that process. When you create a new message, oops, I already gave that one away. When you go to create a new message, most of you are going to see something that looks like this. You do not want to send the email to all of your contacts, because the problem with that is that that really doesn't jive well with how you're supposed to send email. Because if one person on that list gets it, they're going to be able to see all of your contacts. Every single person who you just emailed, they can now take that list, download it, and e-blast all of them. It's not considered courteous to do that. Instead, here's how you should do it. You want to send the e-blast from the new email address. And instead, you're going to send it to yourself. So let's do my dummy account here. Now, for those of you who don't know what CC is, CC stands for carbon copy. So if I'm sending it to a business contact of mine, I may CC a colleague of mine so that they can get it also. But again, they're still going to see the person who receives it and the person who I've carbon copied on it. They're going to be able to see each other. The third way to do it is blind carbon copy, and that's what you'd want if you're going to be sending out an e-blast. So what that means is that anyone listed here under BCC cannot see each other. It's looking like only they received the email message. So the easy way to do this, to pull up your contacts instead of having to type them in one at a time, is this. If you don't have an icon up here that says address, you can secondary click in this gray space. So for those of you who are on a laptop, if you click while you have two fingers present on your trackpad, you should get a series of additional options. Otherwise, if you hold the Control key and click, you can get it also. PC users, same process, it's just a right click. Go here under Customize Toolbar. Let's pretend that wasn't there. You look for something here called Addresses. In PC cases, it may say Contacts, and just drag this to the top, and it'll stick there. And now when you click on that, it'll bring up your address book. So you can go through here, and using that same trick I just taught you about selecting multiple items, I can tell it to select all and hit BCC, and with one click, it's emailing to everyone. So that's a little trick about that. Now, once you make the switch, it's typically a good idea to keep that old account open for around 2 to 3 months, just because you're inevitably going to have a few friends who are not going to get the message. They're just slow to make changes, and they're going to keep emailing your old account. So in that case, there's 2 tricks that I'm going to teach you that you can use to help them make that transition. The first is how to forward your old emails. So when you do this, what you're going to want to do is go to your provider's website. So if you're on Yahoo and switching to Gmail, you'd go to yahoo.com, and in the settings, you're going to look for a feature called forwarding. And it's just going to ask you for the new email address that you're going to have it forward to. And so if I send an email to your old address, it's going to automatically go towards the new one. The other trick that you can use in helping people make this transition is to use a customized signature. A signature is just basically when you create a message, it's this content. It's whatever auto loads. It could be your name, email, phone number, a website link, social media links, really whatever you want. Some people use a quote, which is kind of stupid. So the way you create a custom signature is to go up here to where it says mail. We're going right back to where we've been this whole time, preferences. And this time we're going to go over here to signatures. Here's the one I did from yesterday. Let's just delete that out. Now, a lot of people get close to getting this but don't understand what they're doing wrong. There's, I believe, a total of 3 steps you need to take in order to create a custom signature that automatically loads. So the first thing you're going to do is click the plus symbol to add a new signature. Type in whatever info you want here, whether it's your name. If you want to create a website link, here's a trick. I can say go to our website. Click here. If you highlight where it says click here and then secondary click or right click, link. So you can now add in your own hyperlink to your website. Now, this is where a lot of people stop. There's still 2 more steps you have to take in order to have it automatically load on every email. What you have to do is drag it and drop it into whatever is listed here. Then, the final step, you have to go into that email account, and here where it says choose signature, by default it's set to none. You need to tell it which one you want. So if I do signature 2, which is the one that I just created, now when I create a new message, there you have that info. Okay, couple other questions. A few I see actually people have already asked. What happens if I want to send consistent group emails to people who are fans of your business, really an e-blast? So depending on where you live, there's certain laws that you have to abide to. They're not very well enforced, unfortunately, but here's the easy way. The way we use our system for PC classes online, I love the company that does it. It's very easy to work with. The only downside is their support isn't great, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. You need to use a service that is authorized to send out eBlast. The 2 big ones that are out there are Constant Contact and MailChimp. Now, the advantage with MailChimp, which is what we use, is that if you have less than 2,000 fans or followers, it's free. We're now beyond that, so we actually, every single time I have to email all of you guys, I pay money. So it's expensive, but it's the best way to do it. And it's a certain point you have to pay in order to send out email. To give you an idea of how expensive it is for us to run this service, later this year and today's date, for those of you who may be watching this after the fact, today's date is January 5th. We are estimating that somewhere between June and December of this year, we're going to hit 1 million members. Once we do that, it's going to cost me $4,000 a month just to send out email. So that's where when you guys like our videos on YouTube, when you buy things through our store, it's a way that we can keep the service free and still pay for our costs and maybe even make a little bit of money at the end of the month. So of course we do appreciate that. MailChimp is the one that I'd give my endorsement to. If you're brand new to this kind of thing, if you need someone to hold your hand, Constant Contact is a great service also. It's just that they charge from day one, no matter how many followers you have. And the reason why they charge you for that is that you have a phone number you can call to get someone to help you create an eBlast. And it's really handy for people who need it. For others who are more comfortable with this kind of technology, it's just kind of unnecessary. Another question. George asked this one, was about sending group emails to friends. So let me show you an easy way to do this. This question actually came up yesterday. And I'm just going to remove this one here. Yeah, we'll keep it. So let's say you have a group of friends that you always like to get together and have dinner with. Here's an easy way that you can send an automatic email to all of them. And of course, what I'm about to show you is basically the exact same in all the other email programs out there. What you need to do is create a group in your address book program. So in the case of the Mac, you need to open up the Contacts program and go up here to where it says File and create a new group. You can call this group whatever you want. Let's call it Dinner Club. And now what we need to do is go back to all contacts, pick whoever you want to be included in this list, and drag them and drop them into that group. Again, another feature where knowing how to select multiple items is going to be really handy. So now that I've done that, and sometimes this does take a couple seconds to update, so it doesn't always work immediately. When I go to create a new message, instead of having to type out each person's email one at a time, I can just type in there it is, Dinner Club, and all their emails pop up. That's a fast way to send out an email to a consistent group of friends. Now, if I want to add more people, I can keep typing email addresses here. It's just that these are the ones that I've predefined are part of that group. Let's see here. Another feature I want to just go over briefly, because this does come up quite often, has to do with when you're making a change and bringing in contacts in a large quantity into your program, whether it's a Mac or a PC. A lot of times you do get a lot of duplicates, and there's a very simple feature built into the Mac that will automatically merge them and clean them up. When you're in your contacts program, all you have to do is go up here where it says Card, and if you look here, the fourth item is Look for Duplicates. So let's say you have Aunt Sally's old email address and her new one, and you never remembered to delete her old one. It's going to take everything and merge it into one contact card. Also, if you have, let me think of another example. Let's say you have a friend who has two distinctly different contact cards, but it's the same name. It will take both of their addresses and merge it into one. So you'll have address 1 and address 2. It's up to you to go through and clean it up. But that's another nifty little trick. We have covered a lot of information here. What I'd like to do at this point, I see one other one that I do want to go over. Common question that we get in, not everyone knows it. Let's say I write a new email message and I say, come to our dinner. Bad example. Damn autocorrect. All right, I'm going to use the example I always use. For whatever reason, the word that I always associate with misspelling, because as a kid, I don't know, anyways, the word paleontology. So I have specifically misspelled that word. In the other cases, I was just giving you, they're very commonly misspelled, so it auto-corrected them. Now, you see how there's a red line underneath it? Not everyone knows the fast way to get the correct spelling. All you have to do is put your cursor on top of that word and secondary click or right click if you're on a PC. And if you are on a Mac and you don't have secondary click, control click, and there you get the replacement spelling. And it changes it. Okay, we've covered an awful lot today. What I want to do is, for those of you who are here live, I'm going to get to your questions. Don't worry, I got plenty of time here. And for all of you who have been watching us on the video library, please do check out our live classes. They're a lot of fun. We joke around a lot at the end, and it just degenerates eventually into me becoming the character Ron Burgundy from Anchorman. And we have a lot of fun. So I hope you'll check out our classes. Now, for those of you who are here, let's get to answering your questions.